Welcome to Here I Stand, a ministry of the Christian Emergency League. I'm Pastor Calvin Lindstrom, Church of Christian Liberty in Arlington Heights. And as always, I'm joined by Pastor James Pittman, New Hope Community Church in Palatine. We are two pastors who love to tackle the complex issues of today: theology, politics, the role of the church. James, we have some interesting topics for today. We're coming up, as you all know, to the 250th anniversary of our nation, 1776. And so our question today is this: was America a Christian nation?
This is going to be a good topic, Calvin.
Was America a Christian nation? James, if you had to give a simple answer to that, what would you say?
Well, it depends on what's the context. Was it legally a Christian nation? No, it was never legally a Christian nation. Culturally, was it a Christian nation? I think it's hard to say that it was not. It was a Christian nation culturally, but legally, I would have to say no. I'd have to say no, not legally.
If you, and that would be looking at the U.S. Constitution.
Yes.
Correct? You do have to consider, and we're kind of getting already into the weeds a little bit, the state constitutions, James, at the time of the passing of the U.S. Constitution.
Yes.
So you're dealing with the 12 colonies. I think almost every single one of them had a religious test. You had to profess faith in the true God revealed in Scripture.
Yes, but that's the states. So if you want to say, was it some states Christian, I think without question, yes. But when you say nation, the Union, was there ever anything written in the Constitution that would differentiate us from a non-Christian nation? And you would have to say no. It wasn't really. Culturally, yes.
Yeah, no, those are some very, very good points. And let me just summarize this. If someone asks you that question, was America a Christian nation? I don't think you can just give it as a simple answer.
No.
Because it's not like what's 2 + 2?
Correct.
Or when did Columbus sail the ocean blue?
Correct.
It's a much more complex nation. Are we starting in 1620? When does the nation begin? Are we talking about 1776?
Yeah.
Are we talking about the United States Constitution? So there's a lot. So I would encourage our listeners, when you're dealing with this, you don't have to resort to just a simple yes or no answer, right?
Correct.
I think we can study some of the history. I'm not a trained historian. I do love studying the history of our nation.
Yes.
James, I know you do too.
Yes.
Let me share some interesting points, which I think can also be helpful. When we deal with law, nations are governed by law. And every law will have some sort of a religious basis to it. Yes. Law in every culture is religious.
Yes.
Second, the source of law is the God of that society.
Correct.
Where law changes, then you can say there has been a change in religion. Number 4, you cannot entirely get rid of religion. It can be replaced. You can go from the Christian faith to the Muslim faith to the Buddhist faith. And then finally, there's always going to be a battle, some sort of a fight. The idea that we'll all just get along despite deep differences is not really the case. Ultimately, one system is going to try to shut down the other system. Now, it could be done in a very harsh way. It could be done in a more gentle way. But that fifth point is there can be no tolerance in a law system for another religion.
And let's be clear. We're not saying that a government necessarily has an organized religion. You can have paganism. And so if you're going to push out, let's say you want to push out Christianity, you want to push out Islam, that is a religion. It's paganism.
Right.
It's the removal of all organized religion. So people can say, you know what, I want to be no religion. Well, that is a religion. It's what you bow down to. It's your highest authority within that given government.
No, that's right. So in communism, they'd say we are getting rid of religion. Correct. And all that really meant was Mao Zedong, Joseph Stalin,
Yes.
they are becoming the gods. The Communist Party takes the role as a god. So if we look at those 5 points about law, those are coming from Rushdoony's influential book written in 1973, The Institutes of Biblical Law. If you take those 5 points and then say, how does that fit in with America? That's where I think you do get a tension. There were aspects of law, certainly based on Scripture. There were aspects of law that were more humanistic. And so I would say, was America a Christian nation? In many ways, yes. In other ways, no. Plus, you also consider some of the serious failings in our nation. And so it is a complex thing. Now, the humanists, the secular humanists, don't want anything to do with America as a Christian nation. Those like, Joe Biden, who would say, America had no Christian basis at all. Other people, I think, try to substitute another version. No, if we're honest about the history, there are both clear evidences of America as a Christian nation, and then, as you pointed out, covenantally, when the United States Constitution was drafted, it is not an explicitly Christian document.
And that is the one, I guess, weakness of the Constitution. I think what they meant to say was, we're not going to establish any religion, but it was in the realm of Christianity. Because when they wrote it, they never envisioned Islam to be part of it.
That's right.
I think they should have been more explicit. No church, no one Christian church over and above the other.
You know what? With the First Amendment, James, I believe you are entirely correct on that. I think there's a historian, Joseph Story, who argues that very point. The First Amendment was not designed to say every single religion can come to America and set up shop.
Absolutely.
But you do have, there are some issues. So, for example, Article 6, which forbids any religious test, when the states did have those, and that's where you get that complex answer. The states did have more a fundamental Christian principle in terms of their government. In fact, remember, the First Amendment says Congress shall make no law regarding the establishment of a religion. Congress did not say Massachusetts, New Jersey, Pennsylvania,
And they
South
all
Carolina.
had, but they all had them.
Correct. So in Connecticut, you have an established church. The Congregational Church is the established church in Connecticut at the passing of the United States Constitution. That was not forbidden. It was Congress. And we should, maybe in another show, James, we will talk about the supposed separation of church and state.
Yes.
It does not mean that state governments had to ban all crosses on state property. In fact, it was interesting. A Jewish rabbi who pointed out to me that Thomas Jefferson, the author of that famous line, separation of church and state, went to a Christian service that was held at the United States Capitol.
Yeah.
So imagine if Donald Trump tried to hold a religious service in the United States Capitol today, right? Yeah. That would would provoke some fury.
Because the religion of paganism would not allow it.
Right. And so you recognize the laws in our nation have changed in very serious ways. Now, the Constitution, supposedly as a document, right, is still the law of the land. It has been amended, both good and bad. But if you look at the ethos, some of the particular laws about right and wrong, the fabric, the moral fabric of our society, that definitely has been changed. And the change has been going on for so long that I think in some sense we have forgotten some of the past, right?
Oh, of course.
But
Calvin, that's not by happenstance. That's not by mistake.
No.
The pagan religion in the United States of America has done this on purpose. They have to make you ignorant of the past. They have to somehow erase it anyone who looks back, if you look back on the true history of the United States of America, it was not Allah that they were looking towards.
No.
It was not the God of Mormonism. It was not those religions. They weren't there. It was within the realm of Christianity. Go back to the Mayflower. Look at their writings. It was the Christian relation. There's no debate about that. But in order for paganism to take root, they have to make the masses ignorant of history. They have to.
Right.
And they've done a pretty good job of it, sad to say, Calvin.
So, friends, we are coming to the 250th anniversary of our nation, and it is a good time. I would encourage our listeners, it's a good time to study and reflect on our nation's history. You know, to read some good books or articles on it. You know, it's a good thing to reflect on history. You think we have the book of Judges. You have the law, and then you have the history. Joshua, Judges, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings. The Bible gives us a lot of history. And so I think one of our points today, I would encourage you, study and reflect on our nation's history. There is so much to learn. You're not going to master it all in a week or a day, but this is a good time to do that.
But Calvin, the enemy, he does everything he can to make the masses ignorant of history. Look at, I'm shocked to learn in Illinois, you guys didn't have history that big in high school. But anyway, we're up to a hard break. You're listening to Here I Stand, a ministry of the Christian Emergency League. We'll be right back.